Okay, so this one is going to be, I don't know, I guess homebrew stuff design. So for my games, I like to design a lot of like really bespoke custom items for the players, for the characters, just because that's what activates my jimmies, man. I just like doing that. Like, you give me an idea, you tell me what your character, even if I'm not the DM, you tell me who your character is. I'm like, oh, it'd be a cool weapon for that guy. That's just where my brain goes. So I lean into it. So I don't know if this is going to be a series, if I'm going to do a bunch of these, but I kind of wanted to try designing some alternate magic weapons or something for existing characters. Partially my characters, partially other characters in the Night Parade game. But, just maybe not even like full items, more just like features that you could put on an item, that kind of thing. But just little ideas I got bouncing around that I gotta get out, otherwise they'll consume me. So first one that immediately is jumping out. I've got the Scion? No, Scion doesn't work. Scion's like a family thing, right? I hate that word. It's always goofy, and it gets used in weird spots. You don't really know what it means. But, Chosen of Talos, Warforged, he's basically Robot Thor. Without the joviality. Joviality, is that a word? Jovialness? Is that the fucking English? Oh my god. English is so fucking stupid, man. It's making me stupid. So, this character, it's all about destruction. He's a storm cleric, tempest cleric. So lightning, thunder, storms, big bada booms. If I was playing this character, it would be so hard not to give him a Brooklyn accent. Oh my god. And just say big bada boom whenever you hit somebody. Okay, that's the name of the feature. Big bada boom. How about that? There you go. So, based around destruction, he's a cleric. So, but focused more on like destructive spells instead of being a heal bot. He does some healing, of course. Sometimes you gotta do some healing. But he's mostly like an offensive blaster type with like big, like pop spirit guardians, walk around smacking fools, throw a firestorm out, eliminate a whole army of minions, all that shit. So immediately, like a simple feature is something like, okay, every time something like this, every time you knock somebody back, and maybe there could be another feature that inflicts knockback automatically on a weapon hit, something like that, where when you hit something, you knock them back a distance depending on, their size. So like a medium creature, you can knock them back up to 20 feet, a large creature up to 10, and a huge creature up to 5, something like that. You can't move everything the same distance, but you can move most things at least some distance. And then every time you knock something back, which is a feature that instead of like it's all wrapped into one feature, like when you knock back a creature in this way, this happens. Instead, it's more, these are two separate features, but they key in together, which is a big design philosophy that I like. Scaffolding and features that key into each other, like, the way Ranger's kind of supposed to work to my mind, like they get Hunter's Mark and it's a core tenet or a core feature, and then they get a bunch of other features that synergize with Hunter's Mark. That's the way it should be, but that's a different topic. So it's like, okay. And even Tempest Cleric just has this feature. Like, they can, I think a few times per day, they can knock somebody back. And when they knock somebody back, they deal some lightning damage. So they already, this character already kind of has that feature. So maybe either on top of that normal, like, Divine Strike lightning, or whatever it is, that lightning damage, or actually, I think it's when they do lightning damage, they can knock somebody back. I think that's how it works. I don't care. So they got some way to knock people back, whether that's like keying into like a weapon hit, or like any other feature that knocks people back, like, you know, the Thunder Wave spell knocks people back. So you do that. But whenever they knock a creature back, they can replicate the effects of Call Lightning on that creature. Just basic Call Lightning, no, like, just like for free, you just get basic Call Lightning. But if you happen to have Call Lightning active, you can use your active, the version of Call Lightning that you're concentrating on. So if you upcast it, you know, a few levels, so you're doing, you know, 6d10 instead of 3d10, you can do that version of Call Lightning instead. That's beefy. That's like an interactive feature, I think, and it rewards you for casting this spell, but you don't have to. You can do other stuff. Maybe it should require some kind of, maybe it should be limited, but I mean, at this point, these characters are demigods, almost, or chosen ones, you know, that kind of shit. So it's like, let's, you know, go a little crazy. Not, that said, the weapons that they do have, like, those are kind of crazy too. Like, they do a whole bunch of shit. But, you know, just a single, and that's like a feature and a half. Just simple things like that. That allows this character to kind of spread lightning around. Every hit, like, he does lightning damage. He's got a magic weapon that does 2d8 lightning damage on a hit, or is it 2d6? Whatever the fuck it is. So, you know, like, that works. That happens. But otherwise, he's got, like, now he's like spreading this Call Lightning around, and if there's a small group of enemies, you hit one, he gets knocked back into like a big group of other enemies, and boom, Call Lightning happens. I'm suddenly reminded of a game, an MMO I used to play. I was talking to Nox about it last night. Ragnarok Online. Usually call it RO. There was one of the, like, the main swordsman class. The way that worked, there was a bunch of different classes and shit, but swordsman was like kind of the default, like, frontline tank kind of character. And one of his advancements, Knight, had a move called Bowling Bash, it's kind of a silly name. But the way it worked is you'd hit an enemy, and they would fly back. They would get pushed back like a number of cells. I don't remember how much it was. But if they collided with other enemies, at least one other enemy, they would do splash damage. And the original target and anybody in range of whoever he collided with would then take another full instance of the skill damage as, like, splash damage. So this skill was fantastic for clearing out, like, big hordes of enemies, because you just, especially if there's a bunch of them, like, you could just run up and rapid fire it, because you push the enemy back, but they'd collide with an enemy, a different enemy, and they'd still be in range. So you just spam it and obliterate them all. And that's kind of how this game worked. There was a lot of, like, synergies and interactions like that. Situational stuff. So a lot of the time I feel like I'm kind of replicating, trying to chase that idea. So, like, that's my little idea for Ohm. Some other little features for my character, Senlir. He's, again, I've talked about it before. I may have mentioned it. He's an executioner, uses a scythe. And to me, a feature that, like, screams executioner is doing something with the prone condition. How would you do that? Well, there's a lot of ways. Like, normally, when a creature's prone, you get advantage anyway. It doesn't really matter. So I'm not going to do that where, oh, if they're prone, you get advantage. You already get advantage. Fuck you. Maybe you could word it so that, like, this advantage can't be negated by any form of disadvantage or something. So, I don't know. There's probably some synergies you could do with that. Who knows? But maybe something more like, oh, when you're attacking a crone preacher, god damn it, man. A prone creature, your critical hit range is increased. 19 to 20 instead of 20. Or if you have something else, blah, blah, blah. That's why you say your critical hit threshold is lowered by 1. Say something like that. Or maybe if you hit a prone creature, a prone creature with a weapon attack, it's an automatic crit, something like that. Or you just do extra damage, or, anything you really want to do. Any, like, bonuses you want to tie to it. But just that idea, something. Because, like, knocking creatures prone isn't something Senlir does. But with this kind of bonus, especially the type of player I am, it's like, okay, if theoretically, normal rotation, especially if he's like in a 1v1 against a creature, you use one attack to knock the creature prone, and then your second attack will actually land on the prone creature in some way. Unless that attack against the prone creature is going to do more damage than a single attack would, there's very little reason to do it. It's the true strike problem. Instead of spending one action to give yourself advantage on, instead of giving up one attack to give yourself advantage on a second attack, just take 2 attacks. It's like the same thing. You're still rolling 2d20, and potentially you're doing more damage anyway. It's kind of like that idea. That's another, like, little pitfall you kind of want to avoid. But you also don't necessarily want to make it so that knocking the creature prone and then attacking is always optimal. You don't necessarily want to do that. And so it's like, okay, how do you avoid that? Well, certain creatures might just be, and there's a few other properties here, but maybe it's just, okay, certain creatures just have high enough strength bonuses or dex bonus, like whatever bonus, to avoid being knocked prone, or they're immune to being knocked prone, or they have legendary saving throws so they can just avoid it, whatever. Legendary resistance, not legendary savings. So, something like that. So there's one, like, layer that should be preventing you from doing that in 100% of the time, assuming I'm going to call it the execution attack, is better than 2 attacks. And then assuming the monster's going to get up next turn anyway, so you have to keep repeating that unless your allies can do something to help keep it prone. So, something like that. Or just maybe, it's not always the optimal thing to do. Like, it's even a crit. Well, a crit is still going to probably do more than a single attack because of brutal critical and all sorts of other shit. But, there's always other properties you can assign to these things. Like, just, okay, attacking a prone creature, you get, increased crit range and blah, blah, blah. And then you attach other properties to it. Like, you get, whenever you attack a prone creature, you get another attack. Or you regain something else. Or you can roll extra damage. Or, whatever it is. Whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. But something. That's a property I haven't thought out too much. Something else with this character's weapon would be like, okay, it's a scythe that's carrying the essence of the goddess, like the last shred of essence of the goddess of death. Maybe it should just be able to kill anything. That makes narrative sense, right? That almost, like, a lot of the time that doesn't matter though, because also doing that is kind of eliminating potential plot points in the future. If this scythe can just kill anything, then okay, you just fight stuff. You just Dendar, the Nightmare Serpent, just fight her. You can kill her with this thing because it can kill anything. No. So probably can't kill gods and primordial entities like that. But maybe, any creature that's like, and this is a specific example. I'll just use this example. In this little tournament arc we had, Senlir went up against this special kind of werewolf. And the way the stat block was written, normally a werewolf is going to have resistance to non-magical weapons that aren't silvered. So that silvered weapons or magic weapons can just kill it. You can just do normal damage. But this one, it had resistance, but then could only be killed by a silvered weapon. So that was kind of awkward. But instead of the weapon itself doing it, the weapon gives this dramatic Reaper transformation, and that has an ability, I think on recharge, that has an ability that can kill anything. That just, when you reduce a creature to 0 hit points, it dies. And that's important language. So this type of thing can just kill whatever. But that kind of thing, that's thematic. Being able to just kill a thing, ignore certain properties. But of course you don't want to make this weapon like the MacGuffin. It just does story stuff. You can kill whatever you want. That's an idea, which is already effectively implemented. But another idea, before we got these weapons, and another thing about the weapons that the characters got in this campaign is that everybody gets a fly speed that's double their walking speed, and that solves a lot of problems for a barbarian. Before that, I was thinking about okay, give this weapon a certain this special attack it can make. Maybe it takes a whole action. And this isn't necessarily something the Raven Queen really does. It's not really part of her portfolio. She doesn't have any space-based stuff. But give the weapon an ability to make a melee weapon attack at long range against the target, and if it hits, you teleport to that target after the attack is complete. Something like that, or however you want to word it. Probably make it so it has to hit. You can still do reckless attack and pretty much almost guarantee it's going to hit, because that's kind of what barbarians do. And visually, I'm thinking it's okay, you slice through, tear open a little rift, and as you do, you cut here and you cut at the target, and then step through this rift next to the target, something like that. Or make it so effectively you have to spend 2 attacks to do it, so it takes your whole action. So you cut through and then you wind up at the target, or you step through and make the attack on the target. Something like that. You could do it. You can kind of do it either way. I'd probably do it the first way. You hit them with the rift cutting attack, and then you wind up next to him. Something like that. That could have been cool, but now he has a flight speed and doesn't really have any trouble getting to anybody, so it's kind of a moot point. It would still be like a cool thematic ability, but... And again, it doesn't really sit super well with the Raven Queen. It's like, all gods teleport and all sorts of stuff like that. But it's not something like really specific. Like the Raven, especially the Raven Queen doesn't go anywhere, She just sits in the Shadowfell. So like if it was a god or a deity that's like known for particularly bouncing around, planes walking, moving around to different planes of existence, then yeah, sure, this is a more thematic ability. But the only tie-in I can really give it is like, okay, cutting threads of fate. I'm gonna cut your thread of fate, bucko. Hello, how are you doing? Let me shake your hand before I cut you in half. Something like that. So an ability like that. I'll probably have some more ideas, but I'm pulling into work now. And like these are just my ideas for these types of characters. I'll have other ideas, of course, but that's all I got for you today.